Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
It's a very sunny, nice day out.
Yeah, it's great. It's great out.
Beautiful, yeah. Could you begin by just telling me a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? Where you grew up? What type of your family life was like growing up? That sort of thing.
I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, actually more correctly, a suburb, Bethel Park. My dad was a tax lawyer, so from a young age I knew the IRS, not your friends, but you got to be honest with them. As long as you give Uncle Sam what he wants, he won't be knocking at your door. And my mom was an exercise instructor, so she always had her own business. And my dad had his own business. He had his own firm and was a college professor. So I essentially grew up with two parents that had portfolio careers to begin with. And that's sort of always been my bend. But the attitude around money that I grew up with was you save, you save, you save. You don't give it away, but when you have to spend it, you have to spend it. And a lot of times too, stuff happens, but you can always make more money.
How would you describe your family economically? Were they middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class, or just how would you? I don't know that much about you.
I would say that my family was like middle class / upper middle class. Like, we went on vacations and we were comfortable. Like, I didn't want for anything growing up, but we weren't wealthy. To give you an idea, some of my dad's clients had yachts. Like, they were that kind of wealthy. They had 5 homes. We weren't that, like, that was not our income bracket, but we did okay.
Did that create any type of insecurity with you or maybe your dad? Like, he had to measure up to these guys with their yachts, or did he not really care? It just didn't bother him?
Well, the thing with my dad was the first in his family to go to college. He was from a lower middle class family. He was the first in his family to go to college, and he was the first in his family to get a law degree. Like, my dad's father actually didn't graduate from high school because of the war. So my dad's whole thing was hard work, hard work, hard work. There wasn't insecurity. It's hard work, hard work, hard work. That was a huge part of my background, and nobody gives you anything. That was the other part.
And so where did you go to school, or did you go to college, or what was that about? I went
to NYU undergrad, and currently I'm getting a master's at Antioch in Los Angeles.
And what subject matter?
I got an acting degree as an undergrad, and my parents weren't thrilled with the idea because they knew that the job prospects were slim. But the thing is that I worked several jobs in high school, because part of my upbringing is if you want something, you work for it, because work was a big part of my upbringing. And so I worked 3 jobs in high school. I babysat, I did ventriloquism for kids' parties, and I also bagged groceries at the local supermarket to raise money for the acting classes that I took.
So your parents were okay with you going into this creative profession, even though, as long as you were willing to pay for it? Is that kind of what you're saying? Or?
Well, my parents wanted me to be realistic. Like, their whole thing was, it's like, this is not going to be an easy life. You're not always going to have a job. But yeah, they were willing to let me do it if I paid for it, basically.
And so tell me a little bit about what your acting career has been about. How would you describe it? What are some of the highlights?
Well, some of the highlights of my career have been, I've worked primarily as a ventriloquist and telegrammer. And some of the highlights have been, I've appeared on Rachel Ray, I've appeared on Talk Soup, I've appeared on TLC, I've been on Wendy Williams several times, I've been on the Today Show, I've been on What Would You Do, CBS Sunday Morning, I was just on Videos After Dark with Bob Saget. I mean, I've worked enough that I have a SAG card.
What would be your approximate salary, if you don't mind disclosing that?
Oh gosh, that varies. Sometimes it's a pithy 10 grand a year, and sometimes I'm like at 50 grand. I'm good. I'm rocking and rolling. But the thing with an acting career is it's just the way it is.
And is that something you've just learned to deal with, or is that something you stress out about in those lean months, or just psychologically, how do you deal with that?
Well, When I was younger, I stressed out because you go through these phases. Actually, I'm not going to lie, I still stress out. You go through these phases where it's a lean month and your family members are like, so how about law school, you know? But that's why you always have to have a side hustle. And for me, one of the things that I've always wanted to do is be a professor of some sort, and that's part of the reason I'm getting the master's. And another reason is to network in LA as well and to do more with my writing. But if you have as many tickets as you can have, you always work. Like, I know people that in their lean months, they teach, and that's something I've always wanted to do. Or they do tech stuff, they do photography. You always have to have a side hustle.
What are, have you ever had to do like, like waitressing, or are those kind of like the cliche kind of side jobs?
Yeah.
Or an office job, something like that?
Well, I've done all sorts of crazy stuff when it gets low. I'm a singing telegrammer. That's how I pay the rent most of the time. And I've been very fortunate, knock on wood, but sometimes that gets lean. And when it gets lean, I've worked with kids. I've taught kids. Kids are funny. And I've actually been very passionate about it. I've done editing for people, like grammar. And my grammar's gotten a lot better. I have done promotions on the street of New York where, believe it or not, a lot of people don't want free stuff. I've done that.
They think there's an angle to it?
They think there's an angle, or they just don't want to carry it. I've taught ventriloquism lessons, which is always fun. And I've done that. And then there have been times where I've helped people move, I've helped people paint, I've helped them set stuff up.
So do you kind of enjoy the hustle of it, so to speak? It sounds like it's kind of that it's not 9 to 5, that you always kind of have to be on your toes. Is that something some people thrive off of the stress of it,
I actually would say I thrive off of the stress of it, because the other thing too is that when things get lean, that's when I buckle down and I found some really good stuff. I'm like, oh, I never knew I could make money doing this, or oh, so-and-so's doing a SAG web series, and all of a sudden I get a role, and it's an opportunity to not only hone my chops, but make a few bucks.
What about just being a creative person in New York? Like, every town has their creative group, but in New York, there's a lot of people out there hustling and wanting to make it. Do you have a sense of that competition, beating down your door? Like, if you don't get the job, there's 10 people behind you that are also going for the job? Or is it because you do ventriloquism? How do you say that?
Ventriloquism.
Thank you. That maybe that's your kind of your niche that you found. Is that why you kind of do that?
Yeah, ventriloquism is, well, I love it, but it's sort of always been my ticket to the dance. And it gets me in the door and it gets me seen for stuff, but the way I think of it is that I always have a million plates in the air. And so when one plate crashes, another plate picks up. Like, for instance, I submitted a video to Videos After Dark, forgot about it, and I got passed over for a big opportunity, and all of a sudden, I'm on an ABC show.
What was your Videos After Dark? What was that about?
I was juggling a pink towel. I still haven't told my mother about that one. But I get this nifty check from Wilshire Boulevard in LA. And then I cash it, and I had to head to my canvassing job, because sometimes I canvass for political candidates as well. So you just have to ride the wave and just keep a million plates in the air, and something will work out.
Is that a pretty big high when you get like something like that, and you get to tell your parents, hey, look, I'm on ABC or whatever like that? Is that a pretty big rush?
It is a pretty big rush. And actually, I was on another show. It was a network show. It was What Would You Do? They aired my episode, and this was right after my sister got married, right? And my sister just moved into her house, and my parents were coming down to help her set it up because her husband was still moving his stuff from Nashville, where they lived. And this was the first thing they watched on their new TV. And so it was like we could continue her wedding celebration and celebrate her new house. And I was watching it with my friends in New York. But, there are those moments where it's awesome where you can't come down, and then a few months later your phone's not ringing.
Have you ever thought about doing Broadway or auditioning for like television series, that type of work? Or
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. If it happened, I would love that.
But it sounds like you're not really actively pursuing that. I guess that's what I'm
Well,
asking.
one thing that I've learned is that everybody and their mother is actively pursuing that. One thing that I'm doing is I'm creating my own work, which means you create opportunities for yourself. This is the business of the ultimate entrepreneur. And so if you create opportunities for yourself, they come to you. It's like if you build it, they will come.
And so tell me, what's your ultimate career goal? Just to keep doing what you're doing, or where do you want to be ultimately?
Well, ultimately, I wrote a book. I sang memoirs of a Singing Telegram delivery girl. I'm currently in talks right now to turn that into a TV series or a film. So if that happened, that would be amazing.
Can you tell me a little bit more about doing singing telegrams? Like, what are some of the more interesting adventures you've had in that profession?
Oh gosh, there are so many. There was one, I was used as evidence in court. I'm wearing a heart, like my job was to get him to forgive her. So I go, and it's this guy, and I'm in this heart costume, and I thought it's guy meets girl, guy loses girl, girl tries to get guy back. I felt like I was going to be in a romantic comedy, and so I'm dressed as a heart. And I come in, and this guy's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm your I'm sorry heart." And his boyfriend's in the background and goes, "Oh, I hope it's not another guy." I'm like, the plot thickens. So I'm singing, "I'm sorry, so sorry, please forgive me." And all of a sudden I hear, "Do you know what she did?" And I'm like, no clue. He goes, "It was New Year's Eve. She drove over my foot laughing as I was screaming it in pain. And I'm going to take her to court tomorrow and I'm going to sue her for damages." And I was like, would another song from the I'm Sorry Heart do the trick? Because that was my instructions. And he goes, "I am a world famous ballroom dancer and I may never foxtrot again."
Yeah, so did you end up in court for the guy or something?
No. But his boyfriend said, and now he goes, "No offense to you, you were absolutely wonderful, but we're going to use this as evidence of the fact that she cares nothing for people's feelings and that she added to his pain and suffering." But they did give me a tip. Yeah, but they said, "No offense to you, you were wonderful, but..."
So do people ever just like slam the door on your face or not let you into their building because they don't know who you are?
Yeah, I've
things
had
like that.
Well, I was a Thanksgiving I'm sorry turkey, because these are always the I'm sorry grams. And I show up and I'm supposed to sing a song and dance with everybody, and I'm supposed to be from this guy and his girlfriend. It's like, "Happy Thanksgiving, sorry I couldn't make it, love Brian and Liz." And I thought, they're from maybe the other side of the world. This is a happy Thanksgiving. The mother goes, "What does that say? Give that to me." And she rips it up in a million pieces and just throws it on the ground. And I'm like, I have no idea what this family dispute is about, but I'm going to fly away. And so the aunt was so wonderful. And I said, "I had no idea." I said, "I'm so sorry." She goes, "Of course you didn't. It's like you're just doing your job. Have a happy Thanksgiving, sweetie." And I'm like, it was like I walked into somebody else's drama.
Can you just kind of tell me overall, what is it like to be a creative person or a person trying to do what you're doing and living in New York?
New York is the most eclectic, most exciting, most chaotic, most eccentric, but most wonderful rat race in the world. And even on my worst day, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Mr. Hand, what do you think? Well, I think the Sinnoh is fantastic. So, fantastic, Mr. Hand. And what do you think of the pink nail polish you're wearing? Well, yeah, dude looks like a lady, yeah. Oh, okay, Mr. Hand, that was a terrible Aerosmith. Well, you did it! Oh!
That was great. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that.